follow up on that, I want everybody to kind of comment on what types of technology has been a part of your lives, or you found useful, or what's the role of technology?
The role of technology for me was computer games. And I never realized how much I was learning just through play until way after the fact. I'm not very strong in math, so I don't even remember the name of the computer game, but what?
Math Blaster.
Well, I think it was Math Blaster, but there's like a whole math world that you have to go through like a gazillion levels to get to the top level, like something to do with a mountain. But the one that I really remember taught me how to type. There was this one in elementary school where the faster I typed and got more letters right, the more I could make Mario or Luigi jump. And then there was like writing Mavis or Mavis Beacon, and that really got me focusing on the hand-eye coordination movements of this. Okay, here's what I have to write. Now, my fingers have to hit certain keys to make this work to get to the next level of Mavis Beacon. But I definitely think computer games and technology have far exceeded since when I was a kid, but I think technology is a really awesome tool. What I'm really proud of is accessibility, the accessible parts. I think that's really great, having ramps and having swings that are available for kids.
The iPad, which is a total foreign instrument to an old grandpa, it's amazing what's happened to Noah. I can't light us bright here, but what is it, 6? I can see your face a little bit, Susan. About 6 to 9 months Noah's had the iPad? Probably something like that.
Almost a year.
Anyway, he's not able to communicate, talk at all yet. He can make noises, but he can't speak any words. And it's a whole new world for him on the iPad because he can identify all kinds of things that you begin to see what he identifies, including different songs, different puzzles. And it's also quite interesting when we take the iPad and maybe do something else, and he wants to get back where he was. He knows exactly how to get there, which basically is showing how the fact that his mind, he's very bright. He can remember exactly where he was, etc., where to go. The biggest challenge now is his little brother Matthew wants to play with it too.
I'm a little bit old-fashioned, I suppose, when it comes to the technology stuff. I think the picture tools and communication boards are awesome and great. I think I've noticed a lot, especially with the iPads. Sometimes kids just getting really into playing with it part and the games, and so I guess for me, I wonder, at what point can it become, you're just so zoomed in on this piece of technology, and how much of it is helping you learn to communicate, and how much could it be hindering your, person-to-person relationship, emotional development. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I really like books for learning symbols and seeing storylines and scenarios play out. I think that works really well for children, all children, non-disability, I gotta learn more. But the computer games, Claire, I hear you. I feel like I played some of those too. And my sister, she didn't get much into the games, but she's big on movies, and that's been good for her. You can choose all sorts.
Well, that's what I was thinking about when we were talking about this, is that outside of just technology, I think art and entertainment also really factor into this. Claire reads more than anyone I've ever met, and I feel like I read a lot, so she's constantly reading, and her handwriting. I don't want It's hard to read at times. And but I mean, like when she learned how to type and with the computer, you know, like that's legible and like it allows her to express herself. You know, it like how much she takes in from, you know, music that she listens to that every morning. And like I mean movies that like, you know, she's seen like you've seen Grease what, like 400 times or something like that. Yeah. I mean like these things that like you would maybe just think were innocuous. You know, actually like are like huge like pillars of development. You know, like Nancy Drew novels or like, you know, her life for like 5 years. But you know, like that's a clear understanding of narrative and like characters and like all this stuff. And I mean, you know, she writes poetry and books and stuff like that. And I mean, that's something that I mean, you wouldn't locate it in technology, but you know, finding something, whether it's like a song that the child really likes or like, you know, a movie that they really respond to, you know, don't downplay that. That stuff's probably really valuable.
I have one other thing to add, and that is, so the iPad has all these fun apps, and they can be learning games, and I do understand how, you know, the child might just like the fact that it's a game rather than engaging outward. We have been very fortunate in my daughter's verbal abilities. However, I do have friends where their children are not communicative verbally, and there's an app called Proloquo to Go, and it has actually allowed their child to communicate effectively with the outside world. So while we are all mostly very aware with basic sign language, not everyone in the world is, but yet a child who may not be verbal can now communicate with the iPad by using this program, just tapping a couple of pictures to express their sentences, and the outside world can now understand the audio that the iPad provides. So I have heard that that's a very effective application for nonverbal persons to use to communicate with the outside world who's not familiar with sign language.
Good. Oh,
I just wanted to add one more thing to that is so there's like a ton of communication apps out there. You know, we use GoTalk now, and it's great. You know, if you're just an art instance, I guess I'll say. It's just been great for helping Paul put together a sentence because he can like tap out, you know, I want goldfish, you know, and then he hears it, you know, enough times, and then he starts to try to say it himself. You know what I mean? So just like having that audio back has been really helpful for him. So I mean, I think the iPad has a lot of apps to help with communication.